Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And today is August 10, 2025. And the title of my video for today is Holness Will Win Big. That's why he's announcing the election date today. That is why he's announcing the election day today, because he will win big. Andrew Holness is a strategic person, a strategic politician, so he would not have been irresponsible to be calling the election date today and not knowing that he is fully confident of a victory. Andrew Holness will announce the election date in halfway through today, and I believe it's because he's confident he's going to win big. But why now? Why not before? In this video, I break down the political strategy, the symbolism of halfway tree, and what the timing really says about the Jamaica Labour Party's game plan heading into the general election. We look at how timing can influence public perception, the psychological advantage Holness might be playing for, and whether the People's National Party can respond in time. This is the real story behind today's big announcement. Why now? That is the question that people are asking, and that it's interesting to ask. Now, the Observer this morning opened up a story in which it suggested that the Gen Zs are not particularly happy with what they are seeing in Jamaica, and they don't see why they have to vote. The Gen Zers are not happy, and they think that there is no distinct difference between the Jamaica Labour Party and the PNP, the People's National Party, that there is no reason, there is no real difference. And that is not good, because for a country where young people are the future in terms of the future generation and building the country, that was not a good story that was being carried by the Jamaica Observer. Now, we know that a part of the election campaign is that of politicking and electioneering, and that is what they are in high gear of doing at the moment. Now, I believe these are the numbers of the reasons for which I think that Holness will announce today's election date, because one, it's good for political optics. Halfway tree as a symbol of, where elections generally are called, right? A number of our elections have been called from halfway tree, and Andrew Holness is actually performing within that historical vein. Now, why it matters, halfway tree is the bustling heart of Kingston, a transportation and commercial hub. Politically, it's a place that symbolizes being at the center of Jamaica. And the Labour Party would like to know that they're at the center of Jamaica in terms of they are the focus. They are the focal point at this stage of our political history. Now, the possible angle Holness might want to project connection to the people, choosing a public, busy space instead of a sterile press conference. It visually puts him among the people, even if heavily staged. Now, we know that last week the Prime Minister was seen on the streets distributing pamphlets, or what you call booklet, outlining, delineating his political achievements, of which Prime Minister Andrew Holness has noted he has earned 256 political achievements. In fact, he was also on another campaign trail in which he was suggesting to the constituents that he, Dr. Andrew Holness, has achieved so many achievements, has achieved so many things while in office, that there are more than 256. There are more than 256 political achievements, but he cautioned that he wanted to be modest in his deliberations, in his delineations of such achievements. And he asked Dr. Christopher Tofton, to make another booklet perhaps possibly before the next election, before the election, that he should outline perhaps another 100. So, according to Holness, he has hundreds of political achievements, but he was particularly being modest in the first booklet that he published. Very interesting that you understand that. Now, the timing, another factor which we have to look at is contributing to his announcing the election date today is the confidence or a tactical delay. Why now, not before? Now, we know that the polls have been conflicting, and some polls are suggesting that he's ahead, some are suggesting that he's a little bit behind. Now, waiting until after the positive poll numbers or a big media win gives him momentum. Now, there is no recent poll in terms of outlining who's winning, who is ahead of whom. We don't know at this point, at this stage. I would have thought that there would have been a public poll just before the election date has been called, but it doesn't seem like there is going to be one. Okay? It doesn't look like that there's going to be one at the moment. Now, opposition disadvantage, short notice limits the opposition's time to mobilize or adjust their strategy. So we know that the People's National Party, because that they don't know the date, and the date will be announced today, he can announce it at any given moment. What if he announced that the election will be next week or the week after? You know, he has all that power to do that. I'm not suggesting now that he's going to say next week, but he has all the powers, and that's why we need fixed election dates in Jamaica, because the Prime Minister has too much power to call an election date, and then the oppositional party, which represents also Jamaican, a segment of the Jamaican populace, they don't have enough time to plan for the election. Even though we know that the election is constitutionally due in September, but people still need to know the date. The date is a very important factor. And just like an exam, you might know that exams are generally done in May or June or July, but you need a date, right? A date helps you to plan even better. So don't tell me now that we already know that it's constitutionally due for September. Yes, we know, but if we do not know the date, it's still a snap election, right? It's still a snap election, because if you are not telling me what date, you know, and stuff like that, if we have fixed constitutional election dates, then we know that, you know, that's not a snap, because it has to be done within the purview of the law. Okay, so that is what we have to understand. Now, public distraction. We know that we've just also celebrated Independence Emancipation Day, and the Prime Minister was on high fever, right? So it means, therefore, that now that Jamaicans have celebrated their independence, emancipation, and the galas, the grand galas, you know, were great, or the grand gala was great. And I could say grand galas because we had a lot of galas around the island, because I understand that Prime Minister Andrew Holness, for the first time in Jamaica's history, allocated $1 million to every constituency across the island to have their grand gala. So for the first time, all parishes participated in the Grand Gala, not in the central location, Kingston, but they had their imitation of whatever the Grand Gala is within their neck of the woods, which is a good suggestion, because, you know, why should they just, the Kingstonians and those who are near to Kingston, be the only ones to participate in the Grand Gala? So that was good, but the fact is, why now? Why didn't you do it now before the election is called? I mean, can we afford it? Did he really plan for that? Or was that also another example of electioneering and politicking? I mean, I leave you to decipher what that was all about. But it's good. The idea is good, but we also need strategic planning. We need to plan in terms of where we're going, in terms of can we afford it, and maybe we need to afford it, but this is how we are going to be able to afford it. But for him to have just itemized, allocated $1 million toward the grand galas around across the island, it means, therefore, that Andrew Holness is electioneering, because he didn't do it he did not do that last year or the year before, or when he came into office in 2016. And that should be a policy also, that we can plan for it, it can be properly organized. Very important that we understand that. But it's a good idea. I'm not going to knock him for that. So Andrew Holness, this isn't just confidence, it could be strategic suppression of the opposition's preparation time. And I think that's what he's doing. He's trying to catch the opposition. And I've told you on many occasions off card where they're not going to be able to win him because he's building on the momentum. Andrew Holness is marching on to victory, and he is building on that solid momentum of his 256 political achievements. Nobody, no politician in their right mind would create such a colorful book or booklet and then not call the election near. The fact that he was on the streets and distributing that colorful book of his 256 political achievements while in office for the past 9+ years or 10 years suggests that the election date was around the corner. Number 3, controlling the narrative. Why it works, political timing is often about owning the news cycle. Today's announcement makes Holness the headline, pushing other stories, including criticism, off the front page. So it's going to be now, remember now that last week, what was on the front page was what? His enrichment, his illicit enrichment. That was what was on the front page of the Gleaner. And people were talking about it, and I published a video on his supposed illicit political enrichment, right? Now, the fact of the matter is, if Andrew Holness can now ride on the fever of an election date and his political achievements, and the fact that we've just come out of the Emancipation Independence Week, then I think that he stands a good chance of winning. And I think that people enjoy the election, the Emancipendence Week. They did enjoy themselves. And I think Andrew Holness, and the fact, as I told you, that the Grand Gala, was celebrated around the island. That was something that was also new. Now, the possible angle, he's framing himself as the central figure in Jamaica's political story, the man who caused the shots. And that's what is happening as far as election date is concerned. He's the one who calls the shot, and he's making sure that he cements his leadership image as the guy, as the Don, the Donovan. Now, we have here on another point for which he's calling the election today, the confidence. I already have won this election. I think Andrew Holness is suggesting that, look here, I have this in my pocket, because the PNP, they have no political policies. They are not, they're not articulating anything that is challenging my over 256 political achievements. They have not said anything of substance. Now, why it's risky, if the Prime Minister's inner polling is strong, announcing now might be a show of dominance, like saying, I don't need to wait, I'm ready to beat you anytime. And talking about, inner polling, I think that is what is happening, that his posters, the internal posters are telling him that he is ahead. And I think that he's going to ride that sort of political tide, okay, that political wave. Now, possible angle, is this confidence or arrogance? A leader so sure of himself, he's willing to lock in the date now? Yes, I think that there is some amount of confidence bordering on arrogance, because he would know that what is happening. He knows he has a pulse on the ground as to what is happening. Now we have the psychological advantage. Why it matters? The earlier you set the date, the more you can position yourself as the one in control. This can subtly influence voters' perception of stability and leadership. And I think Andrew Holness is also calling the date, because if he calls the general election in September, you can't argue that the election is constitutionally due in September. So he's going to say that he's not going outside of the remit of the Constitution. He is a constitutionalist, one who abides by the Constitution. So you can't point fingers at him and says that he's trying to, disobey and trying to run roughshod over the Constitution, because that would not be true if he's definitely calling the election date in September. And does he believe in good luck? Is he thinking that if he calls it in September, that he has another good chance of winning the election, since the last election was held in September? And he might just be a guy who believes in coincidence and saying, well, if I won in September of the last election that was held in 2020, then the chances are likely that I might win this government, this general election in 2025. Okay, so I think that these are some of the things that he's looking at. Now, the announcement isn't just logistics, it's mind games. And that is what we have to understand. Because why is Holness announcing the election date now? Why now? Why couldn't he have announced it when he went out to distribute the 256 political achievements? But he's doing it now, particularly after Emancipation Week. And the fact that, you know, the whole matter of the scandals were upon him about his illicit enrichment and his involvement in Cash Plus and Orient and SSL. So I think Andrew Holness wants to detract all of those negative image and portray himself now as the real leader and the constitutional leader, one who believes in the Constitution and will not go off ground and off the rail of the Constitution, which if he calls the election in September, the election date for September, it means therefore that he would be performing within the limits of the Constitution. And that is good thinking, and that is strategic, I should say. That is strategic thinking, and that is what I think. That's one of some of the reasons for which he is calling the election now. I think Dr. Andrew Holness knows that he is going to win big. I think he knows that he is going to win big, and that there is no way at this juncture of the political journey or sojourn that the People's National Party under the leadership of Mark Golding is going to win him. The PNP party, their messaging is so weak. They are not good debaters. They are not good communicators. Even the Damon Crawford, who is known sometimes to present something, you know, of substance, he has to be retracting a lot of what he's saying because he's not sitting down to ponder and to reflect on what the vision for Jamaica is. So because the PNP lacks vision, they don't have a message. Their political leader is weak, not dynamic, right? Not a strategist. I think that Dr. Andrew Holness, Dr. Andrew Michael Holness is going to win big. There might not be, as I'm suggesting here, a big turnout, but based on the numbers that will vote for him, based on the projects and the political achievements that he has delineated, I do not think at this juncture that the PNP, because of their pussyfooting and the fact that they have not presented any substantive issues and any substantive vision for the country, that Dr. Michael Andrew Holness will win big. What do you think? Please leave your comments in the comment section. I look forward to hearing from you. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember to leave your donations at my PayPal account, Andy_Tucker_450@hotmail.com. See you in another video. All the best and enjoy the electioneering and the politicking of our two major dominant political parties. All the best.